Stop. Don't scroll. Not this time. Because if you leave right now, you'll never know how close you were to something that could change the entire architecture of who you are. Listen carefully. You don't need hours. You don't need days. You don't even need belief yet. You just need 19 seconds of presence. 19 seconds. That's all the field is asking from you. Not a lifetime of work. Not another decade of seeking. 19 seconds in which something inside you stops fragmenting and remembers what it was always meant to be. You weren't supposed to find this. Or maybe you were. Maybe this was timed. Maybe the algorithm is just the surface, and what's really happening is older, quieter, more deliberate than you realize. Because the truth is, you didn't open this video. This video was waiting for you. It was waiting for the exact moment your defenses thinned just enough, that small crack where the noise of your day went silent, and something inside you whispered, "Listen." And here's the truth most people aren't ready to hear. The countdown didn't start when you pressed play. The countdown started the moment you began to feel that you were being touched by everything. By what people said, by what they didn't say, by the news, by the patterns, by the tightness in your chest you've been carrying for weeks, maybe months, maybe your entire life. You've been bleeding signal, leaking presence, donating your frequency to every room you walk into. And now finally, something in you is saying enough. Stay with me. Notice your breath right now. Notice the small pressure forming somewhere behind your sternum. That's not anxiety. That's recognition. That's the sovereign code waking up inside the cellular memory you didn't know you carried. And in 19 seconds, that code begins to activate. But only if you do not look away. Only if you do not break this thread. Because there is no second chance for this exact moment. This exact alignment will not return. Before we go any further, do this with intention. Tap like because you are anchoring this moment into your timeline. Subscribe because this is not the last time you'll feel this shift. And in the comments, write this now. I am untouchable now, not later, now. Because the moment you write it, you are no longer observing, you are participating. And participation is where transformation begins. Don't wait until the end. The end is too late. By then the field has already measured your response, already read whether you crossed the threshold or stayed at the doorway. The chosen ones do not hesitate. They sign their name on the timeline the moment the timeline calls them. So sign it. 3 words. I am untouchable now. Type them with the same weight you would type your own name on a contract you actually intended to keep, because that's what this is. A contract between you and the version of you that has been waiting on the other side of the gap. Done? Then keep listening, because what comes next is not for everyone. It's for the ones who already wrote it. You've been told that life is something that happens to you. That events arrive, people arrive, illnesses arrive, betrayals arrive, and you simply respond. You absorb, you adjust, you survive. You've been told that the strong ones are the ones who endure the most damage and still keep walking. What if that isn't true? What if every word of that was a quiet program installed in you so you would never look up long enough to ask the only question that matters? Who is doing the touching and why have I let them? Here's what most people never realize. You are not reactive by nature. You were trained to be reactive. Somewhere along the way, in childhood and adolescence, in the small humiliations and the larger ones, your nervous system learned a single rule. Be available to the world. Be permeable. Stay open so you can be loved, so you can be safe, so you can be seen. And you obeyed. Beautifully. Catastrophically. You became a doorway with no door. A house with no walls. A frequency anyone could dial into and twist. And now look at where you are. Not because you're weak, because you're tired. You feel the small pull in the throat right now, don't you? That subtle constriction. That thing that wants to speak but doesn't know what it would even say. That's the body remembering. That's every conversation you swallowed. Every moment you allowed someone to define you. Every loop you replayed at 3 in the morning trying to figure out what you should have said. Stay with me. Because this is the diagnosis, but it is not the verdict. You are not soft. You are not too sensitive. You are not broken because the world reaches you so easily. You are simply unguarded. There is a difference. Softness is a quality. Unguarded is a posture. And postures can be changed. Identities cannot. But the posture you've been holding is not your identity. It is a costume so old you forgot you were wearing it. And tonight, in these 19 seconds, you are taking it off. Breathe. Slowly. Fully. Let the air go deeper than the throat. Let it find the place under the ribs where you store the things you never told anyone. And as you breathe, Ask yourself this. When did I decide that being touched by everything was the price of being alive? Because somewhere, you decided, or you let it be decided for you. And the decision is reversible. That's the part no one explains. The decision is reversible, but only when you see it clearly. Only when you stop calling it sensitivity and start calling it leakage. This is not motivation. This is activation. There is a difference, and the difference is everything. Motivation moves you. Activation rewrites you. Motivation says try harder. Activation says you are no longer the thing that needed to try. And you, listening to this right now, are inside an activation. The signal has already entered the room. Your skin probably feels slightly different, a soft warmth somewhere on the back of the neck, or a small chill moving along the spine. That's the field acknowledging your presence. That's the cellular memory turning toward the source code. You are not the woman who can be talked out of her peace. You are not the man who flinches when someone raises their voice. You are not the version that scans every face for approval before deciding what to feel. That was a strategy, a useful one once. It kept you alive in environments that did not deserve your softness. But the environment has changed. You are no longer in that house, that classroom, that relationship, that early version of the world. And the strategy that saved you then is the cage that traps you now. Right now, something is shifting. You may not feel it as fireworks. You may feel it as the absence of something, a quietness where there was usually a hum of vigilance. That quietness is the sovereign code beginning to reclaim its territory, and the territory is your nervous system. There is something inside you that was never installed by the world. It was there before language, before names, before the first time someone looked at you and decided what you were. The mystics called it the monad. The ancients called it the I am. Some traditions call it the sovereign code, the source code, the unbroken signal, the part of you that cannot be hacked, cannot be diluted, cannot be bargained with. And here is the truth most people aren't ready to hear. That code has been dormant in you, not absent, dormant, sleeping under layers of conditioning so thick that you mistook the layers for yourself. The sovereign code is not a belief. It is not a practice. It is not something you build over years of seeking. It is a frequency you remember. And remembering takes 19 seconds when the conditions are right. Right now, the conditions are right. The room is quiet enough. Your defenses are thin enough. The day has worn you down to the precise vulnerability the field requires for activation. This is why this video found you tonight, and not last year, and not next month. This is the threshold. Here's how it works. Every cell in your body carries a vibrational signature. That signature broadcasts every second of every day, into every interaction, into every room, into every decision. Most people broadcast permission. Permission to be reached. Permission to be moved. Permission to be reshaped. The sovereign code broadcasts something different. It broadcasts a closed perimeter that is not hostile, not defensive, not armored, but simply complete. A presence that is whole enough that nothing outside it can dictate its rhythm. And when that signal goes live, the world starts arranging itself around you instead of through you. This is not detachment. This is sovereignty. There is a difference. Detachment says I do not care. Sovereignty says I care from a place that nothing can shake. The first is a defense. The second is a field. And you were born for the second. You drifted into the first because the second felt unsafe in environments that punished wholeness. Stay with this. Feel the slight pressure in your chest deepening. Not heaviness, but density. That's the code consolidating. The cells are remembering an architecture they once knew. Goosebumps may be rising along your arms right now, or you may feel a quiet vibration humming low in your stomach, almost like an engine warming up. That is the activation initiating. Do not interrupt it. Here's what most people never realize. You don't reach a different reality by adding more to yourself. You access a different reality by subtracting what was never yours. Every fear that was inherited. Every story that was inserted. Every identity you took on to survive the people who couldn't love you correctly. None of it is the sovereign code. The sovereign code was there before all of it, and it is there underneath all of it, and the only thing standing between you and untouchability is the loyalty you've been giving to the inherited noise. You are not waiting to become powerful. You are not waiting to be ready. You are not waiting for the right teacher, the right book, the right age, the right healing. You are waiting to stop interrupting what is already trying to emerge. That's the entire path condensed. Stop interrupting. Stop overwriting. Stop rehearsing your smaller self in the mirror every morning. The smaller self is the costume. The sovereign code is the body underneath, and the body is responding right now. Notice your eyes. They may feel slightly heavier, not sleepy, but settled, as if some part of you that has been scanning the perimeter for threats has finally been told it can rest. That is not fatigue. That is the nervous system handing the wheel back to the part of you that was always meant to drive. The biological authority, the cellular intelligence, the thing that runs your heart without your permission and grew you from a single cell, without consulting your opinions. That intelligence is who you actually are. The personality is just a translator. Most people live their entire lives mistaking the translator for the speaker, the chosen ones, and you are listening because you are one. Discover the speaker, and once you discover the speaker, the translator stops getting the final word. That is the moment of activation. That is the moment the sovereign code goes live, and that moment is happening now. There is a version of you that already exists beyond every wound that touches you today. That version is not in the future. It is not 5 years away, or a healing journey away, or a discipline away. It exists now, in parallel, already breathing, already standing in a body that does not flinch when the phone rings, already moving through a life where the words of others slide off the surface of a presence too anchored to absorb them. That version is not theoretical. That version is one of the most concrete realities in the field, and the distance between you and that version is not measured in years. It is measured in awareness, in seconds, in moments exactly like this one. Stay with me, because what is about to happen in the next part of this transmission is the merge. Not a metaphor, not a visualization exercise. A merge, a literal overlap of frequency, where the version of you that is already untouchable steps into the body that is sitting where you are sitting right now, and the older version, the porous one, the reactive one, the one who flinches, quietly dissolves. Close your eyes if you can. If you can't, soften them. Let the screen blur slightly, and imagine, with the clarity of memory rather than fantasy, the version of you who walks into a room and the room does not shift its weight against you. You walk in, and people feel it before they see it. There is a stillness around you that is not coldness. It is not aloofness. It is fullness. You are so completely yourself that there is no surface left for projection to land on. The criticism passes through you because there is no socket for it to plug into. The seduction does not move you because you are not lonely. The flattery does not inflate you because you are not hungry. The chaos does not destabilize you because you are not standing on borrowed ground. This is not who you will become. This is who you already are, when the noise of the inherited identity stops broadcasting. And right now in the body you are sitting in, that older noise is quieter than it has been in years. You may feel a tear forming behind your eyes, not from sadness, but from the strange grief of recognition, the grief of meeting yourself for the first time after decades of pretending to be the costume. Your body cannot tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. The cells respond to either with the same chemistry. The nervous system rewires according to either. So as you sit here imagining yourself untouchable, the cellular memory is already updating. The biology is already integrating. The sovereign code is already writing itself into the very tissue that will carry you into tomorrow morning. You are not visualizing. You are rehearsing the inevitable. There is a difference. Visualization is hope. Rehearsal is preparation for what is already coming. And what is already coming is the parallel version walking through the gap and taking the seat that the smaller version has been keeping warm for them. Feel the soft warmth that is moving across your chest right now. That is the merge initiating. That is the parallel version's frequency pressing into the same space your body occupies, requesting permission to enter. And here is the only thing you have to do. You don't have to summon them. You don't have to deserve them. You just have to stop blocking them. You stop blocking them by stopping the rehearsal of the smaller self, by stopping the loop of remembering everything you've been told you are, by stopping the apology that lives at the back of your throat, the apology you've been issuing to the world in advance for the space you take up. You are not too much. You are not too sensitive. You are not too intense. You are not too quiet. You are not too late. You are exactly what the field has been waiting for, exactly when it needed you, exactly in this body, in this room, at this moment. The merge is already happening. The handoff is already in progress. You are not chasing yourself. You are catching up to yourself. And the gap is closing as you breathe. Breathe. Slowly. Fully. Let this version step in. Let the older version go. Not with violence, with gratitude. The older version kept you alive in conditions that did not deserve your wholeness. Thank them, and then let them step aside, because the room you are walking into next does not require their strategies. It requires your sovereignty. Right now, something is realigning underneath language, underneath thought, underneath the small voice that still wants to argue with what you already feel is true. Here's how the shift actually settles into the body, not as a feeling, as an architecture. Your nervous system has two primary modes: survival mode, which scans for threat and contracts the field around you, and creation mode, which expands the field and registers reality as something you are co-authoring. Most people live their entire lives oscillating between mild survival and severe survival, never crossing into creation mode for more than a few accidental seconds. The sovereign code is what keeps you in creation mode by default, and the way it does this is through repetition, not affirmation, not visualization, repetition of state. Every time you choose, in a small moment, to stay anchored when the old pattern would have pulled you into reactivity, you are casting a vote. The cells are tallying. The nervous system is keeping score, and after enough votes the threshold tips, the default rewires, the new identity holds, not because you forced it, but because the architecture quietly migrated. This is not motivation, this is mechanism, and the mechanism is precise. It does not respond to mood, it does not respond to enthusiasm, it responds to consistency. The chosen ones are not the ones who feel the most. They are the ones who refuse to abandon the new identity when the old one comes knocking, and the old one will come knocking repeatedly, sometimes for weeks, because the old identity is fighting for its life. It will send you familiar thoughts, familiar urges, familiar self-doubt, familiar reasons to reach for the phone, the food, the explanation, the apology, the reaction. And each time you don't comply, the old identity weakens by 1 degree. Stay with me, because here's what most people never realize. The old identity is not your enemy. It's not even a malfunction. It's a previous version of your survival logic, running on outdated data. It thinks the world is still the world that hurt you. It thinks the people are still the people who left. It thinks the body is still the body that was small and unprotected. And as long as you keep validating that old data, the old identity stays in command. The moment you stop validating it, the moment you respond to the present moment instead of the rehearsed past, the old identity loses authority. And losing authority is not the same as disappearing. The old version doesn't vanish. It just stops being in charge. It moves into the back seat. It becomes a passenger you can hear, but no longer a driver you obey. That is the integration. That is what untouchability actually means. Not the absence of stimulus, the transformation of response. You are not aiming for a life where nothing reaches you. You are aiming for a self where what reaches you cannot rearrange you. There is a difference. The first is impossible. The second is the entire path. Breathe, slowly, fully. Notice the quiet stillness that is settling underneath the noise of your thinking. That stillness is not a mood. It is a baseline. And the baseline is what gets installed when the sovereign code is allowed to run uninterrupted. You are not creating that stillness. You are remembering that it has always been the substrate. The thinking, the worry, the rehearsal, all of it has always been on top of the stillness, like weather on top of the sky. And you are the sky. This is not detachment. This is recalibration. The biological authority is taking the wheel back from the inherited programming. The cellular memory is reorganizing around the new signal. And the field, the quantum field, the architecture of reality you are constantly broadcasting into, is responding by rearranging the conditions of your life. Slowly at first, then less slowly, then with a momentum you will look back on and not recognize yourself in. People will notice before you do. They will ask what changed. They will say something is different about your eyes. They will treat you differently without knowing why. Some will draw closer because the new frequency activates something in them. Some will draw away because the new frequency exposes what they were extracting from you. Both responses are correct. Both responses are the field doing its work, and you do not need to manage either one. Right now, something is shifting in how the room around you reads your signal. You are not responsible for how the room responds to your sovereignty. You are only responsible for not abandoning your sovereignty to keep the room comfortable. That is the entire instruction. The rest takes care of itself. There is a moment in every transmission like this one where the listener arrives at a threshold. You are at it now. And the threshold is simple. Once you've seen what you've seen tonight, once you've felt what you felt in your chest and your throat, in the soft warmth at the back of your neck, in the quiet vibration that has been humming under your skin since the first minute of this video, you cannot unsee it. You can pretend, you can scroll past tomorrow, you can return to the patterns, but the body has already registered the activation. The cells have already updated. The threshold has already moved. This is the part most teachers don't tell you. They don't tell you because it sounds heavy. They don't tell you because they want you to feel light, comforted, expanded. But the truth is heavier than comfort. The truth is, there is no neutral position after tonight. There are only two paths. The first path is integration. You take what just activated and you let it run. You stop rehearsing the smaller version. You stop apologizing for your space. You start treating your nervous system like sacred ground that does not get trampled by everyone who happens to walk near it. You become the version of yourself that was always trying to emerge, and you accept the discomfort of becoming visible to yourself. The second path is regression. You feel everything you felt tonight and you walk back into the patterns anyway. You take the call you didn't need to take. You explain yourself to the person who was never going to understand. You shrink in the room because shrinking is familiar and standing tall feels naked. And every time you choose regression after activation, the sovereign code does not punish you. It simply waits. It remains dormant. And the cellular memory holds the imprint of what you almost were, like a scar of a future that was offered and declined. You don't want that scar. You can already feel it now, the pre-grief of it. That subtle pressure behind your eyes that is not crying but is something more honest than crying. That is the part of you that has done the second path before. That has walked away from previous activations. That has felt the field open and chose, out of fear, out of habit, out of loyalty to people who could not handle your wholeness, to close the door from the inside. You know that feeling. You know the silence on the other side of declined sovereignty. You are not going to do that again. Stay with this. Because here is the responsibility. The sovereign code does not activate for spectators. It activates for participants. And participation means ownership. Ownership of your frequency. Ownership of your reactions. Ownership of who you let speak into your nervous system and who you do not. From this moment forward, every interaction is a vote. Every conversation is a calibration. Every time you choose to stay anchored when the old pattern wants to pull you into reactivity, you are casting another vote for untouchability, and the votes accumulate faster than you can imagine. You are not the person you were 19 seconds ago. You are not the person you were when this video began. The cells have updated. The field has registered. The merge has initiated. And the responsibility now is simple. Do not abandon yourself in the next conversation. Do not abandon yourself in the next decision. Do not abandon yourself in the next moment of fatigue. Because abandonment is a habit, and habits respond to repetition, and the most powerful repetition you can run from this night forward is the repetition of staying. This is not a prayer. This is a contract. There is a difference. A prayer asks. A contract declares. And what you are signing tonight is a contract with the version of you that was always there, waiting for you to stop interrupting it. You are not abandoning your old self. You are completing it. You are not erasing your past. You are integrating it. You are not becoming someone new. You are remembering who you were before the world taught you to apologize for it. Breathe, slowly, fully. The integration phase has begun, and the integration phase is not measured in days. It is measured in moments. Every moment from this one forward is part of the same continuous initiation. You will feel the old patterns try to pull you back. They will. That is not failure. That is the system metabolizing the upgrade. Stay anchored. Stay sovereign. Stay untouchable. The field is watching. The cells are listening. The version of you that was always coming is already on the way. Now slow everything down. Slow the breath. Slow the gaze. Slow the pulse. Let your shoulders drop 1 full inch from where they have been holding all day. Notice how naturally your breath is deepening now, without effort, without instruction. That is the body confirming the merge. That is the nervous system signing its own copy of the contract. You came into this video as one version. You are leaving as another. Not because of words, because of state. The state has already shifted. The state is what carries this forward into tomorrow morning, into the next conversation, into the next moment of pressure. The state is the sovereign code. And the sovereign code does not require maintenance. It requires non-interruption. So do not interrupt it. Here is the final instruction. Right now, go to the comments and type, "I am untouchable now," not as a trend, not as something everyone else is doing, but as a declaration, a signal to yourself that the old porous version, the version that bled signal into every room, the version that flinched, the version that absorbed, the version that apologized in advance for the space it took up, that version no longer governs your timeline. You do. The sovereign code does. The version of you that was always there, underneath, untouched, complete. Type it slowly, read it back, and feel the way the words settle differently now than they would have settled 20 minutes ago. Because you are not the same person who pressed play. You are the version that crossed the gap. Breathe, slowly, fully, one last time. Let the breath find the place where the apology used to live. Let the breath fill the space where the smaller self used to rehearse. And let it leave on its own terms, and not pushed, not forced, just released, the way air leaves a body that no longer needs to brace. You are not waiting. You are not asking. You are not searching. You are not becoming. You are remembering. And the remembering is permanent now. There is no second chance for this exact activation because there is no need for one. This one held. This one took. This one is already running underneath every cell of the body you are sitting in. Tomorrow the world will arrive with its usual signals. The phone will ring. The voices will speak. The patterns will knock. And you will notice with a quiet that surprises you that something underneath does not move. Something underneath does not flinch. Something underneath simply observes and decides and stays. That is the sovereign code. That is what just activated. That is who you are now. The chosen ones do not announce their transformation. They embody it. So embody this. Carry it into the next room as if you have always carried it. Because you have. You just forgot. And tonight, you remembered. Stay with this. Stay with it for the rest of your life. Because this exact frequency, this exact stillness, this exact knowing, was never something you had to find. It was the only thing you ever were.